I never thought I would become the villain in my own daughter's love story, nor did I imagine I would stand by helplessly as she nearly lost her life before she could truly see the truth about love. But here I am, Margaret Johnson, known as Maggie to most, reflecting on how I almost destroyed what could be the greatest love I've ever witnessed. When Alex first told me about Ethan Chin, I felt my world tilt on its axis. My daughter, a promising African-American lawyer on track to becoming a judge, had fallen for a virtual reality designer from a traditional Chinese family. In my mind, it was a recipe for disaster. "He's brilliant, Mom," Alex had insisted during our weekly Sunday dinner, her eyes shining with that familiar determination I'd seen since she was a child. "And he understands me in a way no one else does." But all I could see were the obstacles: different cultures, different values, different dreams. Or so I thought. Marcus, her brother, initially shared my concerns, often reminding Alex of our family's struggle to establish ourselves in the legal profession. "Dad didn't break barriers in law just for you to throw it all away," he'd say, echoing my own thoughts. "But before I take you back to that day when Alex teetered between life and death, I need to ask you something. Have you ever convinced yourself that you were doing the right thing, only to later realize you were on the wrong side of the story?" It's a question that has haunted me ever since, and one I still wrestle with as I watch my daughter's life unfold. What would you have done if you were in my shoes? The first family dinner with Ethan was a disaster of my own making. I deliberately served soul food, watching with barely concealed satisfaction as he struggled with the spiciness of my special hot sauce chicken. Yet he never complained, instead asking about the history behind each dish, genuinely interested in our culture. "Mrs. Johnson," he'd said, eyes watering but smile genuine, "these flavors remind me of my mother's Sichuan cooking. Different ingredients but the same love in the preparation." His grace made me uncomfortable. It was easier to find fault than to acknowledge the bridges he was trying to build. But I pressed on. "So Ethan, tell me about this virtual reality business of yours. Is it stable? Do you have a retirement plan?" The questions came rapid fire, each one designed to expose what I was sure were the flaws in Ethan's career choice. But to my surprise, he answered each one calmly, intelligently. He spoke of the growing VR industry, of his innovative projects, of his 5-year plan. Despite myself, I was impressed. But I wasn't about to let that show. As the weeks passed, I began my campaign in earnest. I called Alex daily, reminding her of her goals, of the judgeship she dreamed of since she was a little girl. I arranged dinners with successful lawyers, hoping to reignite her ambition. I even went so far as to set her up on a date with a promising young district attorney, only to have Alex storm out of the restaurant in fury. "Mom, stop it," she yelled over the phone that night. "I love Ethan. He supports my career. Why can't you see that?" But I couldn't see it. All I could see was my daughter potentially throwing away her future for a man who designed imaginary worlds for a living. A man whose family, I was sure, wouldn't understand or value Alex's drive and ambition. It was at a family dinner that things came to a head. I'd invited Alex's brother, Marcus, hoping he'd back me up. As we sat around the table, the tension was palpable. "So Ethan," Marcus began, his tone deceptively casual, "how do your parents feel about you dating outside your culture?" Ethan's chopsticks paused halfway to his mouth. "They're adjusting," he said carefully. "It's been a learning process for all of us." "See?" I couldn't help but interject. "This is exactly what I'm worried about. Cultural differences, family expectations. It's a recipe for disaster." Alex slammed her hand on the table. "Enough, Mom. Ethan and I love each other. We're making it work. Why can't you just be happy for us?" As I opened my mouth to respond, I caught sight of Ethan's face. He looked defeated. In that moment I realized I'd gone too far. But I was too stubborn to back down. Little did I know, my actions were about to have consequences far beyond what I could have imagined. As Alex and Ethan left that night, the strain between them was visible. I'd planted seeds of doubt, and they were beginning to take root. What I didn't realize was that across town, another player was about to enter our drama. Derek Thompson, Ethan's coworker, was hatching a plan that would test Alex and Ethan's relationship to its limits. and unwittingly I had just given him all the ammunition he needed. As I watched Alex drive away that night, Ethan silent beside her, I felt a twinge of guilt. But I pushed it aside. After all, I was doing this for her own good. Wasn't I? Derek Thompson entered our lives like a snake in the garden. A colleague of Ethan's at the tech company, he approached me after learning about my concerns through office gossip. "Mrs. Johnson," he'd said during one of our clandestine meetings at a small cafe, "I just thought you should know about some concerns at work regarding Ethan's commitment to his projects since meeting Alex." I listened eagerly as Derek painted a picture of Ethan as unreliable, unstable in his career. What I didn't know then was that Derek was orchestrating Ethan's professional struggles himself, sabotaging projects and spreading rumors, all while positioning himself as a concerned friend to both families. The tension reached a breaking point during a major project presentation. Derek had secretly altered Ethan's code the night before, causing the virtual reality demonstration to fail spectacularly in front of key investors. I used this incident to fuel Alex's doubts, suggesting that perhaps this was a sign of Ethan's professional instability. Then came the case that changed everything. Alex took on the defense of a young environmental activist accused of sabotaging a major corporation's property. The case drew intense media attention and violent threats from extremist groups. I begged her to withdraw. "This is why I became a lawyer, Mom," she'd insisted during a heated argument in my kitchen. "To fight for justice, even when it's unpopular. Ethan understands that. Why can't you?" The night of the attack, Alex was working late at the courthouse preparing for the next day's arguments. The security footage later showed 3 men waiting in the parking garage. They attacked her as she walked to her car, leaving her bleeding and unconscious. The call came at 11:47 p.m. By the time I reached the hospital, Ethan was already there, still wearing his presentation clothes. He'd abandoned a career-defining moment, a virtual reality demonstration for major investors, to be by her side. His eyes were red with tears, his hands shaking as he spoke with the doctors. "I should have been there," he whispered, his voice breaking. "I should have protected her." For 3 days we kept vigil by Alex's bedside. I watched as Ethan never left her side, speaking to her softly in both English and Mandarin, reading her case notes, promising her that justice would be served. He worked remotely from his laptop, coordinating with both the police and his own tech team to analyze security footage that might identify her attackers. It was Lily, Ethan's sister, who finally helped me see the truth. She'd been a quiet presence throughout the ordeal, bringing us food, offering comfort, and bridging the gap between our families. "Mrs. Johnson," she said one evening as we shared a cup of tea in the hospital cafeteria, "love doesn't always look the way we expect it to. Sometimes it crosses every boundary we thought was important, just to show us what really matters." Her words struck a chord. I began to see Ethan through new eyes, not as a threat to Alex's future, but as an integral part of it. When Alex finally opened her eyes, Ethan was holding her hand. The look they shared spoke volumes: pure love, unwavering commitment, absolute trust. In that moment I realized how wrong I'd been. Alex's recovery was a long and painful process. Ethan used his tech skills to create a virtual reality program that helped her through physical therapy, simulating courtroom environments to keep her mind sharp even when her body was weak. I watched in awe as their love grew stronger through every challenge, how they faced each obstacle together. Our families began to blend in unexpected ways. I learned to make dumplings with Ethan's mother, while she learned my family's secret mac and cheese recipe. Marcus became Ethan's strongest advocate, often defending him against lingering doubts from extended family members. One evening, as we all gathered for a multicultural dinner at Alex and Ethan's new apartment, Derek appeared, looking troubled. He confessed to his manipulation, how he tried to sabotage Ethan at work and poison everyone against their relationship. His guilt had become unbearable after the attack. "I saw how much he gave up to be here for her," Derek admitted, his voice heavy with remorse. "I've never seen love like that. I'm so sorry for everything I've done." The room fell silent. It was Alex who spoke first, her voice still weak but filled with the strength I'd always admired. "We all made mistakes," she said, looking pointedly at me before turning back to Derek. What matters is that we learn from them. In the months that followed, I witnessed a beautiful transformation. Alex threw herself into her recovery with the same determination she showed in court. Ethan's virtual reality programs gained recognition in the medical field, revolutionizing rehabilitation therapy. Their professional lives began to intertwine in fascinating ways. Alex started specializing in tech law, often consulting with Ethan on the ethical implications of emerging virtual reality technologies. Ethan, inspired by Alex's work, developed programs to assist in legal education and courtroom preparation. Derek, true to his word, worked tirelessly to make amends. He became an advocate for ethics in the tech industry, often using his own story as a cautionary tale. Slowly, he earned back the trust he had broken. Our family gatherings became a vibrant mix of cultures. Chinese New Year celebrations blended with Juneteenth commemorations. We learned to honor both our differences and our shared values. Today, watching them exchange vows, I see more than just a bride and groom. I see two souls who fought against prejudice, including mine, and one. Alex continues her fight for justice, now with Ethan's unwavering support. His virtual reality programs have become essential tools in legal training and rehabilitation. As they seal their vows with a kiss, I feel Lily squeeze my hand. Around us, both families stand united, a beautiful blend of cultures and traditions. Derek, now a changed man, sits quietly in the back, a reminder that redemption is possible when love shows us the way. Mom, Alex says later, during the reception, her eyes shining with happiness, thank you for learning to see with your heart instead of your fears. I hug her tightly, grateful that love proved stronger than prejudice. No, thank you for showing me what real love looks like. As I watch Alex and Ethan dance their first dance, a perfect fusion of traditional Chinese and African American moves they choreograph together, I realize that love doesn't just cross boundaries. It erases them entirely, creating something new and beautiful in their place. Sometimes the greatest love stories aren't just about romance. They're about growth, acceptance, and the courage to challenge our own prejudices. In the end, love didn't just conquer all, it transformed all, especially me. And as the cherry blossoms fall around us, I know this is just the beginning of their story. A story that proves love knows no boundaries, no cultures, no limitations. A story that will inspire generations to come. In this moment, surrounded by the family we've become, I finally understand the true meaning of love's power to heal, unite, and transform. And I am grateful for the journey that brought us here, every difficult step of the way. And now, dear viewer, I ask you, have you ever found yourself judging a relationship based on prejudices or fears? How has this story changed your perspective on love that transcends cultures and expectations? Remember, hasty judgment can blind us to the most beautiful stories of love and growth. Each relationship is unique, and sometimes the differences we fear are exactly what make a love extraordinary. If this story touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with those you love. Hit that like button so more people can discover the transformative power of love. And don't stop here. If you want more inspiring stories like this one, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon. We have so much more to share with you. Oh, and before you go, I have a special surprise for you. Right after this video, an exclusive playlist featuring more love stories that challenge boundaries and prejudices will be available. Don't miss it. Remember, love has the power to transform not just the lovers, but everyone around them. May we all learn to see with our hearts, not just our eyes. Until next time, and don't forget, love is love, in all its forms and colors.